he comes and he speaks to us individually in that still small voice. But it is so, that's why we teach that it is so important for us to take a little time with God. You know, we have each Sunday, you see those words up there, that unconditional love is spoken, taught, and practiced here. And that is what we are so important about the principles that we teach here. Because, you know, God only can work through us if we are open and receptive to God. God only can work through us or do through us, in us, as us. God works through an open mind and an open heart. One of the things that I really wanted to spend some time, well, three things that I wanted to spend some time, and I hope I'm going to squeeze all of this in. I want to talk about consciousness. I want to talk about the omnis, the four omnis of God, and also about substance. So let's start out talking a little bit about consciousness. Consciousness is that nebulous thing that every spiritual teacher tries to explain, and it's so nebulous that it's so really difficult to explain. And sometimes just by putting it in the basic, break it down as far as you can, is the only thing that really works. So I like to think of consciousness as just being pure awareness. Just pure awareness. We are aware of so many things. But we also need to keep in mind that our consciousness is what we are aware of. But the content of our consciousness is entirely different. Just like the ocean. The ocean is the ocean. It's all the water, right, in the ocean. But sometimes, or particularly what we're finding nowadays, is that there's so much junk in the ocean. There's garbage and plastic. They're talking about all of the stuff that is polluting the ocean. But that's the content in the ocean. The ocean is still the ocean. So the same thing with our consciousness. Your content of your consciousness is different from your consciousness. You following me? Mm-hmm. We allow, through the media particularly, we allow all kinds of junk to come into our consciousness. But that is not our consciousness, okay? Did I hear somebody say a bad word back there? We're not even going to go there. No. So, particularly in regards to abundance, in regards to spiritual economics, in regards to prosperity, our consciousness has become kind of corrupt with the world's definitions and perceptions about abundance and about prosperity. So I wanted to briefly go through some of the metaphysical meanings of some of those words that we associate with prosperity and with abundance. And one of the ones that, there's some words that we use all of the time, but do we really know what these words really mean? And the first one that I wanted to talk about is blessing. How many times do we say bless you? Every time somebody sneezes, bless you. We talk about, oh, bless you, my child, or bless that place. But what are we really talking about? So the medical physical meaning of blessing means to invoke good upon, or to confer prosperity upon, to call forth the action of God, to confer God's good on something or someone. So when you use that word from now on, think of what the meaning, the underlying meaning of blessing means. And it gives, I think it opens our whole world and our whole understanding and our perception of how we see things. Another important definition that I think we need to reconsider or think about differently is affluence. The literal meaning of affluence is free flow. Doesn't have anything to do with things. And that's usually what we kind of think about things. Wealth simply means well-being. And that's the other thing I think that we really need to take some time and do some spiritual mind weeding out of some of the things that we think about prosperity. We know that prosperity is our inheritance. It's our divine right. But far too often we, and particularly as Christians and New Thought Christians, when we talk about abundance and prosperity, we seem to limit it to what? Money or things. That's not what spiritual abundance, that's not what true prosperity is really all about. Prosperity is supposed to be about well-being. It's not just things or money. It's about wholeness. It's about perfect health. It's about all of the good things in life. Where else do I have that? Prosperity means according to hope, to forward or pass on, hopefully. It refers not to a condition in life, but rather an attitude or a perspective about life. Prosperity is spiritual well-being involving all aspects of life, relationships, financial, health, healing, wholeness, peace, harmony, and in other words, every good thing. So let us not limit prosperity or abundant thinking to just things and to just money. Let us remember that prosperity is an spiritual abundance. We're talking about every good thing we can possibly even think about. Butterworth states, prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just about money or things. Abundance, the metaphysical meaning of abundance, is spiritual ideas and consciousness of the omnipresent supply and support in the one mind. It's invisible substance with infinite capacity of experience when held in mind. One other thing I want to kind of interject, that as we're thinking and talking with our friends, with our neighbors, with each other, we need to be mindful of the words that we use and how we use them and what we think that they are about. And it is so interesting when you look at words, the derivation of where they're coming from and what they really mean. And sometimes we need to be very aware, consciously aware of there's a difference between casual conversation, when you're talking to your friend and your neighbor, and causal, meaning the cause of something. And we know that first cause is God, right? But sometimes when we are listening casually to the TV and we hear all the talking heads talk about various different things, we begin to think that they are, when they talk about the stock market has gone down, we begin to think of that as being the cause of our finances decreasing, right? When we hear that it's flu season and that flu is coming, we begin to think of what? That it's the cause of any illness or sickness. So we need to make sure that we don't confuse causation and causality. They're two entirely different things. Another thing that we need sometimes get confused about is lack of evidence is not the same thing as evidence of lack. Do you understand what I'm saying? Lack of evidence, just because there is no outward proof or manifestation of something, does not mean that it is not there. It means that we have not been able to grasp it with our mind, but we know that in God we live, what? Move. We have our being. That God is our constant, instant, always our absolute supply. All that we need is always right around us. It's right there with us. So just because our bank book or our pocketbook may be an indication that there is a lack of some financial substance, that does not mean that this substance, this manifestation, is not already filled to the overflow. It just means that we, for whatever reason, have what? Blocked ourselves from that supply. Because actually, when we really think about it, spirit is simply all that there is. All that there is. God is everywhere present, evenly present at the same time in the same place. I like to think about this divine spirit that we call love that is so pervasive. As, we talk about there's not a spot where God is not, right? And so we think sometimes of God as being this person up in the sky, And if you think of God as a human being, it seems that if God is standing at the center of the sky and he's coming down, that maybe his left foot is over here and his right foot is over there and his right hand is here and his left hand is there, that there may possibly then, according to that picture, some place where God is not. But if you think of God or spirit as being manifested as the force, the power that is represented, that holds all the subatomic particles together. We know that the atoms are everything that we see, everything that we can see, our air, everything is what? Is made up of atomic particles, of atoms, right? So if you think of God, that's how God can be everywhere, evenly present at the same time in the same place, as being this love force that holds all of the subatomic particles together. So that is one way where you get a new understanding and a new meaning to what God is, rather than as this person in the sky. So we like to talk about God as being the four omnis. Omni means what? All, right? So we talk about God as being omnipresence, and that's just what I've been talking about for the last few minutes. The whole of God is present at each point in space at the same time. Not just a part of God. God cannot be divided into little pieces. The whole of God. So omnipresence, omnipotence. That means God is not just all powerful. God is all of the power. Big difference. Everybody following me? God is all of the power that there is in the universe. Not just he is powerful. Third one, God is omniscient. God is all of the knowledge in the world. Not has the knowledge, but God is all of the knowledge. So every answer that you could possibly be looking for rests where? In the mind of God. And we each have what? Access to this mind of God. Isn't that a wonderful, comforting feeling? Just to know that whatever it is that you're seeking, whatever it is that you're looking for, you have it. You have access to it at any time. God doesn't keep banker's hours, does he? He's not just available from 9 to 3 on Monday through Friday. He's always constantly available. And the last one is omniactive. That means that God is active in every sphere of our life, every area of our life, everywhere throughout the world, throughout the universe. God is active and present. So, wanted to talk about divine substance now. We also were taught early on in our days of learning about truth. And every day, we are meant to learn something else about truth. Every day when we wake up in the morning, we should open our minds and also be looking, okay, God, what new part of yourself are you going to show me today? Help me to learn a little bit more than I knew yesterday. Help me to see you more in all things and in all people. Help me to become a bigger opening for you to express through me this day. So when we talk about divine substance, it is so important that we also come into the realization that we are created in divine substance, formed of divine substance, and ceaselessly, always supported by and in this divine substance. Substance is what we are. God is life, love, wisdom, power, and substance. Remember that it is not really for lack of any good thing whenever you are experiencing want or lack of something. but it is in actuality the lack of awareness of the availability of this ever-present substance that is already around you. It's all around you. It's like a fish swimming in the ocean, wondering, where is the water? You know, where is it? It's floating around in it. And this divine substance is around us wherever we are. I heard, I don't even remember where I heard it, but I think I was in Cabo, and I was reading something or meditating, whatever. But at any rate, it was saying that they did some experiments, and they put a box, a great big box of dirt, like a sandbox, and they planted a tree seed in this box. And they weighed all of this. They weighed all the dirt, right? They planted this tree, and they watered it. That was the only thing they did. Every day, they watered it. And after a time, the tree grew into a full-blown tree. So then they weighed it. They weighed all the dirt and the tree. And guess what? The weight was the same. The dirt still weighed exactly what it did before the tree grew in it. So there's a famous Vedic saying. It goes something like, you take from abundance, and abundance still remains. That's what divine substance is all about. You can never use it all up. You take from abundance, and abundance still remains. So God can do no more for you than he can do through you. So before you do anything in the outer, if you are experiencing a sense of lack, that means before you pray, before you go to your mother and try to borrow money, or your father and try to borrow money, or your friend and try, or rob a bank, or any of those other things possibly that you might want to do, what you need to do is to get still and go into a high state of consciousness and allow God, the source of all of your answers, to what? To speak to you. The answers, what you're looking for, lies within. So the first step that we must always do when we're experiencing a lack of health, lack of finances, a lack of love or relationships, is to go into a high state of consciousness. Affirmation: I establish myself in the limitless substance of God, and I am supplied with all that I could ever need. You are not only worthy, but you are entitled to all of the abundance of the universe. Think about that. You are not only worthy, but you are what? Entitled to all of the abundance of the universe. You know, there's a lot going around with that word, entitlement. You're talking about how in some aspects of our population, there is this sense of entitlement, that they are entitled to more of the freedoms or more of the abundance that is available in the world. But that is a misnomer. They get it because they feel that they are entitled. That is what they believe. So we have to come to the spiritual understanding and the knowledge and accept this for ourselves. It's a universal principle. God has already given us everything. But if we do not accept it, what? It is not ours. So you must claim it. And where do you claim it? You have to grasp it with your mind. You have to grasp it up here and feel it in here before you can have or manifest whatever it is that you desire. I wanted to read or share with you some verses from the Bible, and I want you to listen to what they are saying, because these are all quotes from the Old Testament, which we usually don't think about too much in the thought. But God, or the scriptures, are really talking about substance. So in Matthew, this is in the New Testament, Matthew 25:34, Jesus says, "Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. So Jesus has said that from the foundation of the world, God has prepared this awesomeness, all of this abundance for us to use and to have. But first we must claim it. Also, another thing that I wanted to briefly go through, and my time is going, is I wish Oscar was here, because we have had this constant kind of debate in New Thought about asking. There are those that say that you only need to ask once. And then there are others that say that you can keep asking. But if you keep asking, the other part of that is that signifies that you don't have something. So do you ask or don't you ask? Do you ask just once? And I had forgotten this, and this is in spiritual economics. My old friend, Eric Butterworth, he says this: asks mean to claim or demand. So when you are asking for something, the way to think about it is that you are not doing it from a state or a sense of lack. You are simply claiming it. Just something for you to think about. Going on about substance. Genesis 13:6. In Genesis, they are describing the wealth of Abraham and Lot. Listen to these words. Their substance was great. That word substance again. Joseph's wealth was described. He made him, Joseph, Lord of his house and ruler of all of his substance. That's found Psalms 105, verse 21. Job's vast wealth was described in terms of substance. King David appointed stewards to take care of all of his substance. 1 Chronicles 28:1. So the Bible then is simply a study in the substance and how to mold and shape it into whatever it is that we want. Now, when you think about substance henceforth, remember that substance is the very essence of God. Substance breaks down into the Latin means standing under, okay? And substance, way back in early days, even before the writings of the Bible, was something that our ancient ancestors, particularly in the Near East, Egypt, the Chaldeans, all of them were very aware that underlying everything of wealth, everything of abundance, there was this substance, the very essence of God. And it is in this substance that we are what? Living, moving, and having our very being. So spiritual abundance is our inheritance. It's our divine right. It is there for each one of us. But first of all, we have to grasp it with our minds. We have to understand that we are worthy of it, and we are also entitled to it. There is something else, some other things that I wanted to remember to say. I talked about how prosperity and spiritual abundance does not just apply to things. It is not just about money. It is not just about going out and having a shopping spree, being able to travel in first class, or being able to have the furs or the diamonds or the jewels. That we also need to keep in mind that it is also about health, wholeness. It is about all of the goodness of the world that is available to us. Einstein said that one of the important things that we have to first decide is whether or not the world is a friendly place or not. So not only is the world a friendly place, but the world is also a place for us to enjoy, for us to share our gifts and to receive gifts. The law of giving and receiving is an important law for us all to remember. It is said that as you give, so shall you receive. In every body of water, there is always a place for the water to what? Come in, and an outlet for the water to go out. Because otherwise, it becomes a stagnant pool, and that means death. If there's not new things going in and old things going out, it's going to lead to stagnation, and stagnation is death. So part of the law of giving and receiving then is to give. And as you give, so shall you receive. So we are here not just to be receivers of God's good. We are here to also bless and to give forth some of the good that we have. So one of the things that we also want to remember is that we are here to be a blessing to the world. That we are here to bless the world, to confer prosperity to the world. That we are here to pray for the world. We are here to do what we can to help bring about this world that works for everyone. That when we see a want or a need, it becomes incumbent upon us, if we see it, that we try to do something to alleviate it. I don't mean that you need to go and take all of your money out of your bank account and try to fulfill that need, but you are to do what you are led to do in your heart. We are here to build a world that works for everyone. So we do not want to, we're not in competition with anybody else other than our former self, the self that we were yesterday. So we are here to be a blessing as well as to receive blessings. So let us remember to do that in our everyday life, in our everyday world. Any questions, any comments? So, I think I have pretty much covered everything that I really wanted to convey to you. I really want to inspire you. I want you to really get a larger sense of who you are, what you are, and whose you are. You are God's divine child. You are his beloved child. God has your picture on his nightstand. You are a part of God's heart. There is only one of us here. So let us all remember and be thankful for this realization that we are all a part of God's heart. There's only one of us here, one heart, one soul, and we are it. Please join me. Let us all go into that upper room, that state of high consciousness where we again remember that what prayer is really about. We don't pray to a God that is off somewhere in the cosmos or in the sky. We want to pray from a consciousness of God the good, being available everywhere to us. This presence is everywhere present, evenly present at each point in space at the same time. Help us to realize, Father, Mother God, that it is about your presence, not the absence of any good thing. Far too often, when we pray, we are praying about what seems not to be present. Help us to realize that within your presence that we live, move, and have our being lies everything that our heart could possibly desire. That you have already given us everything. Help us to find our way back to your heart. Help us to realize, to come into a greater understanding of what it is in our thinking, in our belief system, that is blocking us from receiving all of your good. Help us to gain a deeper understanding of who we are in you and who you are in us. And Father, Mother God, in this moment, we also want to bring to mind all of those who we pray for, who we care about. We ask for your continued health and confer the utmost blessings the utmost healing properties, the utmost goodness for all of those that come to our mind in this moment. We bring into this circle of prayer Reverend George, and we see him becoming stronger. We see him accepting his healing. We see him being willing to allow the strength of God and the courage of God to just permeate each and every cell of his being. We ask for continued prayer and healing for Vanessa. We know that Val and her family are continuing to be brought forth and filled with your strength and your guidance. And we see you continuing to strengthen and to gird them and to help them to see what it is they need to say and do and hear in order to help Vanessa as she goes through this situation. We ask for your continued prayer and your blessings with all of those that are affected by Hurricane Matthew. We see your presence. We recognize that you are right there in Haiti, in the Bahamas, in Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. We see you there comforting and protecting. We see you lifting up all of those who are in need of guidance, who are in need of whatever it is they need. Help them to see that you are the source of all that they need. Father, Mother God, in this moment, we are just so very, very grateful for your presence within us and for your continued guidance and understanding. And for this, we simply say,